Welcome to Detroit, Michigan, where today the Pittsburgh Pirates conclude their brief three-game series, one-city road trip against the Detroit Tigers. The season series will come to an end. The Pirates and the Detroit Tigers playing at Comerica Park today. The Pirates looking for the sweep of the Tigers. Greg Brown along with Bob Walk. What a win last night for the Pirates, collecting 21 hits in a 9-3 victory, Bob. The most hits the Pirates have had in a game in over 11 years, and everybody seemed to contribute, really.
It was amazing to watch all those base hits, but for me also, it was about the long balls. That was a lot of fun. And watch Walker hit this one. Looks like he just hit a 5-iron into a green. He's trying to bend it in. It just was so much fun to see the ball going over the fence. Walker with another home run, the opposite field. Really a nice power display. What the team, I think, is really looking for the second half, improve their home run numbers. That's different from last year. Hopefully that game last night will get them going in that direction.
3 homers in 1 inning. Pedro Alvarez with the long ball as well. So the Pirates, again, got the offense going last night, and they've had the strong starting pitching all year. Francisco Liriano will go this afternoon. Had a bounce-back start his last time out.
Yeah, looked really sharp. I loved his control in his last start. Really seemed to be able to do anything he wanted with the ball. Was able to throw a lot of ground balls. You know, we talk a lot about his strikeout abilities. He's such a great swing and miss pitcher. But he can get the ball on the ground, and that was a big part of his last start. He was able to get a bunch of double plays, which helped him out a great deal. Here you're looking at one of them, Walker with the turn, and hopefully today he can keep the ball on the ground.
He is 4-6 this season. The Pirates' left-hander opponents, he is the second lowest opponents batting average against in the National League. The former Minnesota Twin and Chicago White Sox left-hander, very used to the American League, the junior circuit, and he'll be taking on the Detroit Tigers today. By the way, he's 3 for 3 in sweeps this year. Buccos getting ready to take on the Tigers and look to keep this offense motoring in the Motor City. The Pirates and the Tigers from Detroit are coming up next.
Ball on Root Sports is brought to you by Toyota. Toyota helps you get the most out of your drive. Just ask a friend who drives one. Toyota, let's go places. By Barrel Automotive, we're driven to be better. And by PNC Bank, for the achiever in you. Let's go Bucks.
It is a beautiful day for baseball in Detroit, Michigan. Pirates, Tigers conclude this 3-game series. Bucks aim for the sweep. Just about ready to play ball. And before the players take the field, we'll go down onto the field and Robbie and Smikowski.
Greg, a couple minutes ago in the pregame show, Bob Walk mentioned that the Pirates are going to be well represented in the All-Star game. Yesterday we talked about how the Altoona Curve are going to be well represented in the All-Star game. And guess what? When you look at Indianapolis, they're going to send 3 guys to the All-Star game. Elias Diaz, Alan Hansen, and Blake Wood, the closer. Some spectacular seasons from those guys. Alan Hansen made a great return from the DL with an inside-the-park home run last night. And General Manager Neil Huntington said the best part of the success these guys are having at these levels, that it's being done with age-appropriate prospects. They believe they're going to win each game at the minor league level because they draft well and they execute well once they are drafted. So a lot of good stuff as we hit the All-Star announcements here. Pirates announcements coming up this weekend, so we should get some more news all around, up and down the organization, guys.
Fingers crossed that the Pirates are well represented, and you've got time to get your votes in for the position players. Pirates.com/vote. Andrew McCutchen has made a move. This has Francisco Cervelli. We check out the Pirates Toyota starting lineup. Josh Harrison, Jordy Mercer, and Andrew McCutchen. Kutch will DH this afternoon. Starling Marte will hit cleanup in center field. Jung Ho Gung, Francisco Cervelli follow. Neil Walker 6 for 12 in the series, followed by Gregory Polanco and Sean Rodriguez.
Take a look at the young left-hander, Kyle Ryan. His numbers on the year. One of the things I think we'll notice right away, he's really not a stuff type guy. He doesn't throw very hard. A variety of off-speed pitches. He's going to have to put the ball where he wants to. His main goal is to try and keep the hitter's timing off balance a little bit. Wants to get him ahead, a little behind. But to do that with his stuff, he has to have good control. You got to cut the ball, run it in on left, or run it in on the right-handers a little bit, and then work them down and away, maybe with a changeup.
The defense behind him, you see the new catcher on this afternoon game following the night game. It's Brian Holiday. Defense brought to you by Honda. Miguel Cabrera, Ian Kinsler on the right side, Nick Castellanos, Jose Iglesias on the left side, Cespedes, Rajay Davis, and J.D. Martinez in the outfield, left to right. Ready to go as Josh Harrison steps in. J.H. hitting .345 against lefty pitching this season, 8th in the league. And we're underway and it's ball 1. Harrison a couple of hits last night. A 2-0 count now. Home plate umpire Sam Holbrook. Greg Gibson is the crew chief at first. Chris Siegel at second. Marvin Hudson at third. And he falls behind 3 pitches into the game, 3-0. There's Greg Gibson, who did the neat little jumping jack last night to avoid being hit by a hard hit ground ball. And a strike.
Jumped all the way to the plate tonight. Well, that last fastball, 90. Scouting report says his average fastball is 87.6 or right in that area. So 90 is going to be about where he tops out at.
Well, you don't see that too often. This is an 11th round draft pick 5 years ago.
Not from a young guy.
Right. That's what I mean.
Usually those are the guys that you get here by good stuff.
And a ground ball to Castellanos. But came back after being down 3-0 in the count and gets Harrison.
There are guys that don't throw all that hard that do make it up through the control of their pitches, knowing what they're doing, figuring out how to read bats and destroy that timing. That's why most times if you see somebody that doesn't have much of a fastball, it's an older guy that's been around and he has that experience to be able to put to use. But in this case, it's a younger pitcher. And normally, for whatever reason, it's a left-hander also.
Kyle Ryan's 4th start of the season, 7th appearance. Most of this year spent at AAA Toledo. Jordy Mercer 2 for 5 in last night's ball game. ball, 2 strikes. Mercer's average has climbed all the way to 242. And quietly moving that batting average up, becoming more respectable. Mercer 1 month ago today was batting 192. So he strikes out Mercer. Kyle Ryan down in the count to Harrison, got him to bounce out, and then he strikes out Mercer.
You can see exactly what he's got and what he throws. And the thing that you notice right away is he doesn't throw very hard. And I like that on our scouting report on the screen it says curveball. On my paperwork it says slider. Nobody throws a 76-mile-an-hour slider.
Well, who put that scouting report together on your paperwork?
I'm not going to say.
Oh. Ball 1 on Andrew McCutchen. 8-game hitting streak for him. .295 average. And 3 for 10 in this series. Ryan not wasting any time. 1 ball and 2 strikes. He pretty much gets the ball and delivers. From Auburndale, Florida. Not too far from where Andrew McCutchen grew up. There's A.J. Burnett, that win last night. 2-2. McCutchen just outside of Lakeland, and that's where Auburndale, Florida is located.
You can really see that he has a good idea of what he's doing as far as trying to vary the speeds on all of his pitches, work the ball in and out. You destroy the timing too by going in and out. Because when a pitch is inside, the hitter has to swing or commit to a swing sooner to get the head of the bat to it, obviously, and so that's all about timing. So it's not just the speed of the ball that you can mess up that timing. It's the location, moving it in and moving it out.
Made his big league debut last year, appeared in 6 games. And a walk to McCutchen. He's walked now 9 in 25 innings. A lot of work out of the bullpen. We'll face Starling Marte. 1 of 4 home runs last night. Marte's was crushed in the 8th inning. His 4th hit of the night.
You know what was nice about the Marte's and Alvarez is also they're both off breaking balls, and especially in Marte's case the night before, he couldn't sniff a breaking ball. I think he struck out 4 straight times on breaking pitches. So it was nice to see him take a bad breaking ball. It was on the strike zone, but hit it way out of the ballpark.
Now, Clint Hurdle is always interesting in his pregame media sessions, but he said today that Marte has the rare ability to completely forget the previous night or the previous at bat. A real short memory, and he compared him to a former Colorado Rocky, Vinny Castilla, in that regard. Vinny Castilla would never know if he was in a slump. Time is called just as Ryan was ready to deliver the pitch.
There's maybe just a couple of things you would like to remember. Just to,
the good stuff,
helpful type. Some bad stuff too that can help you out. Like, I don't want to do that again.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of stuff. But for the most part, you have to be able to turn the page and go at it fresh the next at bat or the next night, next start, whatever it is.
And a fly ball toward right, and over is J.D. Martinez in right center. Half inning complete. 8 now on the year. Has this lineup against the lefty Liriano. Rajai Davis has a 9-game hitting streak going. Then it's Ian Kinsler and Miguel Cabrera. Victor Martinez, the DH. Yoenis Cespedes is in left. J.D. Martinez is 6 for 10 in the series. Nick Castellanos, Brian Holiday, Jose Iglesias round out the starting 9 for the Tigers.
Take a look at Francisco's numbers on the season. He has been in that bad luck spot a little bit in the rotation. At 3.21 ERA, all those strikeouts. You think he'd have more than 4 wins, but in his first 15 starts, there's been too many times where we just haven't scored for him. Including batting average just 189. That's just outstanding.
Second lowest in the league. There's a ball that's going to drop in front of McCutchen, and Rajai Davis, first pitch swinging, has a 10-game hitting streak. Rajai Davis. I'm sorry, Marte is in center field. I hope I don't do that all day. I did that about a week ago when Marte was in center. Kept calling him McCutchen. Marte in center.
Well, it's very rarely that McCutchen's not out there. Totally understandable. But he's getting the afternoon off. Half off, anyway. Gets to hit, but he didn't have to go play the field.
So Davis, who hit a home run off Francisco Liriano at PNC Park when the Tigers were in April, the first homestand. That was the only run of the ball game. Bob was talking about how the offense at times has not scored for Liriano. That was certainly one of those occasions. The Pirates were 2 hit. Ian Kinsler has 2 hits in the series. Two and 0. No stranger to the Tigers. Francisco Liriano. And now it's 3 and 0.
Sometimes it takes Francisco about an inning to lock in on that control of his. Especially if he's getting some patient hitters at the plate. Don't want to help him out. Swing at those balls that are down out of the strike zone.
Rajai Davis, among the American League leaders in steals, has 14 in 17 tries. Three and 2, a little bluff start by Davis. Now a full count.
Kinsler. This might have been sitting on fastball, that pitch. Well, Davis will get that good move now.
There he goes on the 3-2. And a foul ball. Liriano is 5-10 in his career against Detroit. This is his 20th start against the Tigers. He's handled Kinsler over the years. Rivers Casino tips to win.
The first one there that contained the Tigers, I'm talking mainly about the long ball. They got 3 guys in this lineup with double figures and home runs. One of them's got 20. Keep it in the yard, and I think Gung's going to have a good day. He's really been tearing up lefties.
Bouncing ball. 1-2. Talked about the double play ball in his last start.
Yeah, that's part of, I think, keeping the ball in the yard is trying to continue getting the ground balls like he did last time out, and it helped him out again right away.
Rajai Davis not going on that 3-2 pitch. Chick-fil-A double play.
Why he was running was just to stay out of the double play. Wasn't trying to steal the base. This time, he didn't go. Guessed wrong. But I think Gung, he's really been hitting the lefties well. He's got a young one out there today. He doesn't really have much of a fastball. I think that Gung's going to have at least a 2-hit afternoon.
I think that's a good pick.
You like that pick?
Yeah, even though John Wehner says these aren't predictions, I think that's a good prediction on your part.
No, it's a prediction.
Yeah. No, Wehner says no, they're not predictions. They're just
what
tips.
Are they then?
They're just tips to win.
They're predictions.
Not according to The Rock.
When I say they're predictions.
In fact, he gets angry about it, I got to tell you.
I'm predicting Gung to have a good afternoon.
Oh, hit in the air to right.
I'm predicting that Polanco will catch this.
And you're right on the money again.
There you go.
Incredible.
There you go.
Bob Walker, you're amazing. Park. Pirates host the Indians. Middle game of that series coming up on Saturday, 4:05. Win great prizes from Eaton Park. An Eaton Park Scratch and Win Saturday. Get to Federal Street for the block party featuring food and beverages. There's live entertainment and games. Get your tickets at pirates.com. 4th of July celebration and the final homestand before the All-Star break kicks off on the Free Shirt Friday tomorrow. Expecting great weather, so get your tickets. Get to pirates.com. Lock them in. Jung Ho Kang. A foul ball. 0-2. Fingers crossed.
Yep. Toes.
Yeah, everything. That this prediction going to pay dividends. Kang did not play last night. 1 for 6 on Tuesday.
Predicting 2 hits. So I mean, he cannot get a hit here, and I'm still
sure,
fine.
Of course. We know that.
Good eye.
Now, if he gets hit by a pitch,
it's like good as a hit.
Sure it is.
He's on base.
In fact, a walk.
Okay, let's just say he gets on base twice.
Good. Even in an air, whatever.
There's Rock.
There's John angry about these predictions.
Yeah. You know, it's odd that he doesn't like predictions because
he's so good at it.
Well, he loves the weather, which is all about predicting.
True.
I mean,
he's our meteorologist.
Yeah. So it's odd that he doesn't like to predict.
Foul ball.
He's locked in now.
Yeah.
After that last foul ball, he's got him.
I like your thinking, though. You've got a young pitcher here. It makes all the sense in the world.
I'm guessing that Ryan is probably a little bit more like some of the pitching he saw in the Korean League as far as stuff-wise. Stay alive.
We're not worried.
No, I'm not worried at all. As I said, I got a couple of bats to play with.
And another foul.
Long at bat is like half a hit.
Pitch number 9 of this at bat. Oh, hit it well towards center field. Davis is back.
Keep going.
Makes the catch.
410 feet from home plate. Well, nothing to do about it.
Nice at bat.
9-pitch at bat, and he ends up flying out 410 feet to dead center. Nice running catch by Davis.
This might make the highlight shows tonight.
On the edge of the track.
That good a catch. Might have to count that as a hit, to be honest with you.
Half a hit anyway.
I'm going to go with a whole hit. Cervelli, 3 for 12 in the series.
At PNC Park, that would have been in the bushes.
Yeah. A lot of black and gold throughout this ballpark.
That's not far from Pittsburgh. Natural rivalry, right?
If you say so.
Well, isn't that the way it's been over the last couple of years?
Tigers do play a home-and-home series every year for the past handful of seasons. We'll host Cleveland tomorrow night.
That team that's right in the backyard.
Seem to be more of a natural rival. Indians are playing down in St. Petersburg, Florida this afternoon. The Indians lead the Tampa Bay Rays 4-2. They've had some dramatic pitching performances this season. Cervelli strikes out looking and knew it. Neil Walker come to the plate batting right-handed, and last night this one against Alfredo Simon.
A little body English, keep that one fair.
That was his 5th of the year. It came with a man on in the 3rd. He raced a 1-0 deficit, and then part of the 3-homer inning, Walker goes the other way. 2-homer night for Neil Walker. And this has been his favorite month, July, over the years. And why not put him in the lineup once again, even though it is a lefty? Maybe he is starting to get more confidence. We've seen that over the years as well. He had the opposite field double off the lefty Gorzolani in the 14th inning that won the game for the Pirates. This ball is dropping. Foul. Wow, is that close?
Well, Greg, one of the things that was going on last year was that he was getting a lot more home runs. Here, we'll take a look. See exactly how foul that ball was. And to go along with the long balls, he was hitting much better right-handed. So maybe the two are related. And if he's going to start hitting the ball with some authority, get the ball over the fence, maybe the right-handed swing is going to pick up also.
A career .260 average from this side of the plate, so very solid. See his last 3 games. Hitting .538.
Last year he was able to really bring that back up. That was starting to kind of fade a little bit, his right-handed batting average.
He has 6 hits in his last 8 at-bats going back to the game on Tuesday night. And in the air to right, J.D. Martinez. And a 1-2-3. Top of the second, it's 0-0 in Detroit.
Is brought to you by the Chevy Colorado and your Western PA Chevy dealers. And by Day Automotive. We're gonna make your day. Let's go Bucks!
We move now to the bottom of the second. UPMC scoreboard, 0-0. Bucks Tigers. Liriano facing Victor Martinez, who's a .464 career hitter against Liriano, and is batting .457 from this right side of the plate. We're talking about Neil Walker switch hitting. It's the opposite is true for Victor Martinez. He's a much better hitter from this side of the plate. Bats just .187 against righties. Born in Detroit, now lives in the Berg. A win-win for that gentleman.
Sitting right down below us here somewhere. I saw him earlier. He was waving up at you. You didn't see him. A lot of pirate tops and unis right down below us. Where the dads at? They were right below us last night.
I think they're in that same section again. A good trip for the dads. And a bouncer to the shortstop Mercer. 1 out. Day Automotive this day in Pirates history is on this date, July 2nd, 1961. The Pirates had a franchise record 3 consecutive pinch hits. Johnny Logan, Rocky Nelson, Smokey Burgess. Pirates score 4 and beat the Giants 7-6 at Forbes Field. Game 1 of a doubleheader. Bucks also won Game 2 and sweep the Twin Bill 9-0 the final. 1961 Pirates team, of course, the defending World Series champions, would struggle in 1961. There are the dads, some of them. Some 16 dads made the trip this 3-game series. Clint Hurdle's dad there, the striped shirt and the sunglasses. Learned that the dads are going to throw out the first pitch in unison tomorrow night before the game. That'll be pretty cool.
Hope the accuracy is where it needs to be.
Yeah.
They got them all in a line. Anytime I see those group first pitch things, I always think, well, hope everyone hits their target.
They have been practicing with their sons last couple days. 2-2 on Cespedes. Yoenis Cespedes is 1 out of 10 in the series. Down on strikes. First K for Francisco Liriano.
He's back to just the first couple of hitters. Wasn't really in sync control-wise, but he is doing it exactly what he wants now. That was a perfect 2-strike slider. The ball gets to the glove just a moment before it's going to hit the dirt. Excellent spot.
.109 strikeouts for the year now for Liriano. 6th in the National League. He has quietly become one of the top strikeout pitchers in all of baseball. JD Martinez is 6 for 10 in the series. Liriano has averaged 9.59 punch-outs per 9 innings since the start of the 2013 season. See the shift. Bad looking swing there.
I mean, that tells you how good his slider is. You can't pick it up. The rotation is such that you just don't see it early enough. The results in a swing like that.
Another strikeout. And 1, 2, 3. Go the Tigers. All right, Rob, thanks very much. Francisco Liriano with back-to-back strikeouts to end The bottom of the second. Gregory Polanco looks at a strike.
That was pretty impressive work there at the end with that slider. The last two strikeouts of Martinez and Cespedes before him. But Greg, you were talking about how he's become such a great strikeout pitcher, and there are games where that thing is working to the point to where it reminds me of watching Carlton years ago.
What was
nobody
it?
can even make contact with it. And I mean, talk about a great strikeout pitcher.
Right.
Of course, Carlton did it for year after year after year for forever. But that's kind of the zone that we see Liriano get into nowadays with that pitch. Where nobody, you could almost tell him, hey, I'm throwing a slider. It doesn't matter. They're going to hit it. Now, Greg, in that instance right there, if the call would have been yes, if he did swing, you wouldn't have to tag him again, right?
Correct. I like your theory, though. We've got to ask somebody about that.
Even though when he was tagged the first time, he hadn't struck out yet. And so he didn't know that he needed to run. And if he did take off running, it would be admitting guilt. Cut fastball, it looked like. Just a couple miles an hour off his average velocity of his fastball, but you can see a little tiny bit of movement away.
Third strikeout for him. Now the ninth man in the order, Sean Rodriguez.
There's the curveball. And Ryan is showing pretty good control right now, and I think that's always going to be the issue with him. When he's throwing the ball where he wants to, the way he changes speeds and has a real grip on what he's trying to do, he could be very successful in this league, even though he doesn't have a big fastball to use. Got a little bit of a cross his body delivery where he's kind of stepping a little bit toward the first base side. It makes it a little tougher to pick him up for the hitter to pick up the baseball on release. Might be even a little more difficult for left-hand hitters.
Bounced. Third baseman Castellanos on to first, and the out call there. Cabrera had to leave the bag momentarily. Rodriguez is out number 2.
Throw, he kind of got under it a little bit with that sidearm toss. Almost pushed that throw up over Cabrera's head.
Kept that foot on the bag, did Miguel Cabrera. Pirates, they might try to push that bunt. That, just talking about it, with the left-hander on the mound and a very immobile Cabrera. Cabrera says don't even throw it, and he's looking at Castellanos like, what are you doing?
Yeah. And not only looking at him, but like motioning
like, come on, get in there and field a bunt.
Really? Well, in defense of Castellanos, with 2 outs, you're not supposed to be defending the bunt. And I would argue that with Cabrera. I mean, he should be back defending a double that will put a runner in scoring position immediately with 2 outs rather than a bunt single.
There goes Harrison right away, and Jay Hay like a double now.
Well, see, that's
second.
That's what makes the bunt okay with 2 outs. If you're going to lay down a bunt base hit with 2 outs, you have to be able to steal second. And otherwise, it's just really not worth it. Because you're running out of outs. That you're going to have 3 consecutive hits to score a run, and that's tough with 2 outs. So you got to be a base stealer, and I certainly consider Jay Hay a base stealer. Maybe not an elite base stealer, but he can as you can just witness, he can take it back. So now it's like he hit a double, as you said, Greg. It's a nice comment on your part.
That's his 8th steal. That's 3rd on the Pirates. If Mercer can bring him in. 3-0. We were talking to Rick Sofield before the game. The Pirates feel like they can try to exploit not only a left-handed pitcher, but a first baseman who doesn't have a lot of mobility in Miguel Cabrera. Harrison had that bunt up the third base line.
We saw
it worked.
In game 1 of this series when Marte almost bunted for a double.
Yeah.
He was trying to push bunt and he hit it kind of hard and it was right down over the first base bag, and Cabrera was barely able to get over and keep it from going down into the down the chalk line into the outfield.
Draws the walk. Certainly not what Kyle Ryan wanted to do, with Andrew McCutchen awaiting on deck. As hot as Mercer has been, and been one of the hotter hitters in baseball.
Well, I was praised him for his control, and he sure didn't have it there. I mean, the ball 4 pitch, nowhere close to being a strike, bouncing in there.
Strike on McCutchen. Two strikes on him. Just walked Mercer. Now he quickly out in front of McCutchen. 0-2. One ball, 2 strikes. Ryan Holiday save there. Harrison at second with 2 outs. Mercer at first. Bucks with 15 hits on Tuesday in 14 innings, 21 hits in regulation last night. 2-2. Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 on and 2 outs. And a liner right to Cabrera.
of the third inning at Comerica Park, which became the home of the Detroit Tigers starting in 2000. Up until 1999, it was a very famous place, Tiger Stadium. Not very long from here, that was the home of the Tigers. And to this day, people come to visit Tiger Stadium pretty frequently. Now, there's a nice overhead shot of Ernie Harwell Field at the site of the old Tiger Stadium. That is because the field is kept up by a group of Tigers fans that took matters into their own hands. Now, it's a volunteer group known as the Navin Field Grounds Crew. They got together about 5 years ago and cleaned up all the tall grass, garbage, and weeds, and once again made it look like a baseball field. Now, there's a plan in place, and a rendering has already been produced to build a youth athletic complex at the site that will be known as the Detroit Police Athletic League. Now, I don't know where they stand in terms of how close they are to getting it done, Greg and Bob, but it's a really cool thing that they are doing with the site of the old Tiger Stadium, maybe about, what, mile, maybe less than that from here, and it's going to be a nice field where kids can play the game.
Well, there's a great debate what to do with Tiger Stadium. A lot of people wanted it to remain. They talked about making like apartments out of it in the old Tiger Stadium. One of the iconic shots for years in the city of Detroit.
Yeah, I heard that one of the things they're talking about is that it's in discussion now is whether to keep the athletic field grass, which could be high maintenance.
Deep right, but Polanco there.
Chase.
Or go into something artificial surface. And you know, that is one of the, I think, holdups as to what's going on with it. And, you know, it's no secret, you know, what's happened in the last couple of years in Detroit here. They're having a hard time finding money for projects like that. Understandable.
Mm-hmm. Brian Holiday, the backup catcher.
You know, when Ryan was out there, I was talking about how he's got that deception going for him. As he throws across his body, you can really see the difference between where he strides and where Liriano strides. Liriano is almost a little more open, where he's kind of showing them the baseball early, and he also throws from that far side of that third base side of the rubber. So their landing spots got to be 2 feet apart. I don't know if you've ever seen a two lefties with
that
their
is
plant
really
foots
wild
that far apart.
From our vantage point to see that.
Oh, yeah,
looks like someone has a wide stance.
You can see the dark spot on the right. That's where Ryan is landing. The dark spot on the left, that's where Liriano. And it's their difference in styles of their delivery. Where Liriano is a little bit open.
A nice play by Gung. That ball died as it hit the lip.
And Ryan likes to get over on the other side of the rubber and throw across his body, trying to hide that ball as long as possible. So they're where their plant foot is landing is as far apart as you can have it. And they're both left-handed, which makes it kind of odd.
Jose Iglesias to the plate. Holiday retired on the ball that hit just in front of the lip of the grass and didn't come up on Gung like he thought it might, so he had to make the quick reaction. Did that. Retires Holiday. Did he? Yes. 0-2. Home plate umpire Sam Holbrook said he offered it the pitch in the dirt.
Take a look, you can see. Oh, yeah, that ball bat's way out in front of the plate.
Oh, strikeout number 3 for Francisco Liriano. Hit Data Strong fan. And you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast. Brought to you by T-Mobile. Hashtag Hit Data Strong fan. Tweet your strongest fan photo. It is 0-0 as we go to the fourth. Batter Starling Marte. And he thinks about dropping a bunt down. Marte, Gong, Cervelli in the fourth. Three and one. Ryan's walked a couple.
And they have to give you the opportunity to walk more. They have to stay patient. Don't get frustrated and start expanding the strike zone and chasing after him. He's nibbling.
His fifth major league start. And he walks Marte. Called up to the big leagues last year. Made a start at the end of August against the Chicago White Sox. His big league debut. 6 shutout innings and earned the victory.
They're trying to catch a fish going against a guy like this.
Explain.
The way he's nibbling, you just go, no, not yet.
Oh, okay,
not yet,
yeah.
Not yet. You got to wait till he takes the big bite. When he hits
Yeah.
it hard, then set the hook.
Good call. So Marte going to take off. Holiday not
like
James
McCann.
McCann. Well, McCann, one of the strongest
He could throw
arms in baseball.
Great accuracy, too.
Yeah.
Threw some strikes.
Taking the day off. As Alex Avila about ready to rejoin the club. It'll be interesting to see what they decide to do with their catchers. Well, here is Gong. Hit a ball to the warning track on a 3-2 pitch, a 9-pitch at bat in the second. And they pick off Marte. He'll continue, and he will be out at second. Cabrera to Iglesias.
He was guessing. Guessed wrong. He was going to go on first move, guessing that Ryan was throwing the ball home. Oh, he slipped badly, too, taken off. He always seems to have a little problem with it. The first couple strides. Sometimes he'll shut it down. In fact, if the throw would have went home, the pitch would have went home, he would have probably stopped. But if he stopped in that case, there was nowhere to go back to.
One ball, one strike on Gong. There's no argument there for Marte, so assume that Iglesias did get the tag down. Looked like he kind of waited.
Yeah, he did. He waited a while before he got the tag down.
You would think if there was any question that Marte would have at least looked toward the dugout.
I saw on the replay it looked like it was there in time, but it's almost become automatic, though, to take a long look at these tag plays at second base.
Yeah. Even when it seems obvious.
So, I mean, they got him by about 3 inches. So I'm surprised that there wasn't a little bit of a delay. So
take a longer look.
Unless the Pirates are just really getting quick at that.
You heard the home plate umpire, Sam Holbrook, say that was outside, 3-2. ripped foul. Boy, he's had some hard hit balls here, hasn't he? In a couple of at bats.
Seeing a lot of pitches.
Yeah. Should already be 1 for 1.
Should be, but he's not.
If that ball's fair, that's a liner into the corner.
Yeah.
Am I overthrowing a little bit for you?
Yeah.
Right. I'll back off.
Quit throwing the ifs out there. Yeah, if that was fair, it'd be a long home run.
I'll say.
That ball went over the top of the foul pole.
Man.
My goodness. Wow, that ball was up there. How do they know if it was fair or foul? That ball actually looked like it went over the top of the pole. It was that high.
At least another 9-pitch at bat for Gong. And popped it up. Easy for Kinsler. A Point Park University tweet. Let's see. Hey, Robbie. Is that Robbie and Smikowski? Oh, can you ask Bob? Whatever happened to the screwball?
Well,
that pitch got a lot of folks to the Hall of Fame. Now it's gone. Can you ask Bob whatever happened to the screwball? That pitch got a lot of folks to the Hall of Fame. Now it's gone.
Bob, all I did here was say I would pass along the question to you. I have no idea what happened to the screwball, nor am I qualified to answer that question. So, Bob, what happened to the screwball?
Yeah, I know what happened to the screwball. He doesn't go on the road trips anymore. He hadn't been on a road trip for years. John goes on the road now.
Oh, you're talking about the guy that went to Chicago and New York.
What are you guys talking about? Oh, you're talking about the pitch, the screwball. Oh, okay. Seriously, I think that the circle change is kind of taking over that, and nobody really threw. Not a lot of people. There might be one guy on each team that would actually throw a screwball, and most of the screwballs I ever saw were nothing more than change-ups.
Well, Bob, let me ask you, because growing up listening to a lot of Phillies games as a kid in Central PA, remember Harry Callis and Richie Ashburn always talked up Tug McGraw and that Scroogey, the screwball.
The change-up that Tug threw, you mean?
That's what that was, right? Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of guys that can throw circle changes now that just let the ball come out of the side a little bit, and they get that same down movement. Heck, Liriano will throw some change-ups this afternoon that will fall down and away. And in the old days, screwball. I mean, what happened to the forkball? It's still being thrown, just different names.
It's all about the names.
It's all about the names.
Yeah. Split finger now, not the forkball, huh?
Yeah, it's not even called a split. When's the last time we heard split finger? It's a splitter.
There's a drive hit deep to left field and clear the deck. Cannonball coming. Vita Bella. Francisco Cervelli gives the Pirates a 1-0 lead in the fourth. Number 4 for the Pirates catcher.
Vita Bella. Do you know what that means?
Life's good.
Okay. Check it. See if it just sounded good or you actually spoke Italian. Oh, look at that. Life is good. Took a ball at the knees, rode it out into the bullpen.
Number 4 for Cervelli and a 1-0 Pirates lead. It's the 5th allowed by Kyle Ryan.
Well, we've been blessed the last few years with good catchers, haven't we?
For sure.
I mean, beyond just the baseball part of it, but.
And a base hit for Neil Walker as a right-handed hitter.
Good qualities in the dugout, the clubhouse. Great contributors in between the lines. Stewart definitely falls into that category. How about the way he hit the ball first night in town?
Yeah. Cervelli, we'll find out tonight. The balloting ends. Pirates.com/vote. Chance to get Cervelli into that All-Star game. Find out Sunday night if he will be going for the first time in his career. Two neat stories if Cervelli and Burnett end up in the Midsummer Classic. Yes, he did. 1-1 on Polanco. He struck out in the third. See the pitch count at 83 for Kyle Ryan. Ryan was going to make a start on Saturday night, scheduled to make that start, but the game got rained out against the White Sox. David Price in there, Justin Verlander. His pitching staff, ERA collectively 4.09 for the Tigers. It's third worst in the American League. Anibal Sanchez will start for the Tigers in their game tomorrow night against Toronto.
I remember toward the end of spring training, and then of course when they were in PNC Park beginning of April, what everyone thought about the Tigers, how good they were.
Yeah. Francisco Cervelli. It's his 4th home run of the season to give the Pirates a 1-0 lead. Life is good. His home run over the left field wall. Back to work for Francisco Liriano. And today's Barrel Automotive League leaders stat, taking a look at the Major League Baseball leaders in whiff percentage off of off-speed pitches. Liriano second to Tyson Ross of the Padres. And right up there with Clayton Kershaw. And the man who flirted with a perfect game last night for the Indians, Carlos Carrasco.
Flirted until you took it away from him.
Least I could do when you said you really didn't want him to pitch a perfect game or a no-hitter, so I jinxed him. Into the left center field gap, and there's Harrison. Jay Hay making just his second start this season in left field. Most of the time when he's in the outfield, he's in right. And oftentimes Polanco will move from right to left, but Clint Hurdle puts Jay Hay in left and Marte in center to give McCutchen essentially a day off.
A nice play by Jay Hay. Always does a good job in the outfield.
Doesn't matter where you put him, really.
He is just a good player, no matter where.
into left. Round single for Ian Kinsler. Brad Ausmus believes that Kinsler's about to get hot. More opportunities for Miguel Cabrera and Victor Martinez. Well, Cabrera has 53 RBIs, tied for second in the league.
Yeah, I don't think that really just looking at their stats, that it's their offense that's kind of holding the Tigers back. It's got to be the pitching, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the top offenses in baseball. But
I know in my mind, when they left Pittsburgh, I thought, wow, there's the best team in the American League. They were very impressive in spring training when we saw them. It's like, wow, these guys are really going to be good. And they just haven't got the pitching that they need. Or maybe if they can have the old Verlander back, or at least something close to it for the second half, that'll probably be the biggest boost they can get. And stuff-wise, control-wise wasn't there, but stuff-wise, when we saw him a couple nights ago, he's not far away. He got several of his fastballs up there in the mid-90s.
Going to be interesting the rest of the way. See what happens to the Tigers. Currently 6 back in third place in the American League Central Division. They will finish up on the road before the All-Star break. They'll go to Seattle and Minnesota. Just foul. Hit hard by Miguel Cabrera. Barely foul.
Wow. I think that was a very fortunate call. Had to be close to going over the base, because where this ball bounces is in fair territory. But unless you're hovering right over the top of the base, looking straight down on it, you can't ever really say for sure where the base was, or where the ball was when it went by. It's kind of the times when we've had a camera way above home plate in a dome stadium, and you're looking right down at home plate, and you can see the ball going over the plate. On a slow-mo, you can say, yep, that ball was right over the top of the plate, or no, it was just off by a smidgen. No, that's what you would have to have for that third base bag. You'd have to look right straight down on it to be able to tell for sure. So the kind of unique cutout around home plate, not the normal circle.
Design of home plate.
You know, the way they do it here with combine it with the little pathway to the mound makes it look almost like a shovel.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Yeah. You look at it, I'm always thinking I'm looking at a shovel.
2-2 on Cabrera. Cabrera has hit into 12 double plays, which is among the league leaders in the American League. And now it's 3-2, and with one out, and Victor Martinez on deck. There's a big pitch coming up. Man made a really nice catch. One-handed. And then Andy Van Slyke fan appreciated that grab. 3-2 the count on Cabrera. See if Kinsler takes off. Stays put, and it is ball 4. It's first and second for Victor Martinez. The first walk for Liriano. looked like this could have been a called third strike.
Wow. When you're watching the Cervelli's glove, it didn't look like it was the same place as where the strike zone showed it. That was a really kind of an odd deal there, with the camera being offset and not actually in truth over the center field. It will fool you sometimes, in or out.
And these days, a lot of the cameras are dead center, like at PNC Park.
But here you're off center a little bit, and so that you're not really getting a true picture of where the baseball is in and out.
Well, here is the dangerous Victor Martinez. Told you his career numbers against Liriano coming into this game: 464, 457 batting average from this right side of the plate. And ball one. Liriano able to get Martinez to bounce to short his first time up. Ball to strike on Victor Martinez. It says something to Sam Holbrook.
See that ball right on the edge, but it does look like when you're looking at it live, like it was a little bit off the plate away. And that's the difference. But with the modern technology we have, we got the strike zone there, and that shows you the exact strike zone.
Oh, 1-2.
Is that down and in slider? Big swing at it.
One ball, two strikes. Oh, the block by Cervelli, keeping those runners at second and first. Kinsler at second and Cabrera at first. Something that Clint Hurdle pointed out recently. He said, count how many times, do the research, how many times Cervelli has blocked pitches in the dirt and kept the double play in order.
Great to get the ground ball here.
He has hit into 9 double plays.
A little on the slow side. Doesn't run very well at all.
That's an understatement. Hard hit, one hopper. They get one, and for some reason, no attempt at a double play.
I don't think Gong really thought that he had any chance. Did not realize just how slow Martinez is. But with his arm, he had it out at first base.
Easy.
And when Gung gets the ball in his glove, Victor Martinez is only about halfway to first base. He was just surprised by that. His first look, in fact, Greg, I think was the second base. And then by the time he decided to look over at first, then it was too late.
Should be out of the inning. Here's Cespedes. And back to Mercer again. Almost a replay. Liriano gets out of it. Still 1-0.
and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Send your favorite Pirates to the 86th Major League Baseball All-Star Game. You can fill out your 2015 Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot now at Pirates.com. Voting exclusively online, available on your computer, tablet, and smartphone. Vote up to 35 times at Pirates.com/vote. Up until 11:59 tonight. Sean Rodriguez bounced out in the third. 2 for 8 in the series. He hasn't had many opportunities to start, but with Pedro Alvarez not in there against the lefty, and with the DH available, Clint Hurdle went with a DH last night for Alvarez, and Rodriguez makes back-to-back starts at first base.
Yeah, it seems like we should be doing much better than we are on the scoreboard. Ryan's thrown almost 90 pitches.
Yeah, that's the fourth walk.
And 43 of them have been 43 of 40 at 46 strikes. 43 balls, 46 strikes. He's not consistently in the strike zone.
Second straight inning, he's walked the leadoff man. Josh Harrison had a bunt single in the third.
It's like we're being kind of patient, but just not quite enough.
One run, 3 hits for the Pirates, no runs, 2 hits for the Tigers, and now Holiday out to talk with Kyle Ryan. Yoenis Cespedes is the back-to-back home run derby champion in the All-Star Game. Let's go down to Robbie and Smikowski to talk more about it.
Yeah, it's always an exciting event, Greg, but this year it's taking on a new format. It'll be bracket style and a timed event. So the 8-player field will feature guys having 5 minutes to hit as many home runs as possible rather than a set number of outs each round. Usually it's a 10. The running clock starts with the first pitch and will stop for any homer hit during the final minute. Now, another wrinkle added this year is bonus time. Players get an extra minute of swings if they hit 2 homers 420 feet or longer, and they get another 30 seconds if they go 475 feet. Now, it takes a little bit to digest all the changes, but it should make for a more exciting event than we've seen in previous years. It'll be July 13th at the Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, Ohio. Get more people watching it, right?
Yeah, I would think so. It'd be interesting, too. Put a little pressure on the pitcher that you choose.
I like the give extra time for the longer home runs. I think that's kind of cool.
Jeff Johns, the pitching coach, out.
It all makes sense because they put these new clocks in the ballpark.
Jeff Jones.
This year.
Yeah.
So it adds something else they can use it for.
Yeah, that's right. Might as well use the clock. Cespedes, back-to-back home run derby champion. They are really pushing him here to get to the All-Star game once again.
If you look at the numbers, you'd think they would be pushing. Martinez, but I guess they needed to do that along. JD Martinez has 20 home runs.
Yeah.
But it's Cespedes that they're wanting everyone to vote for.
Yoenis Cespedes. Yo. Jeff Jones back to the dugout.
He's got 10 home runs, 43. JD Martinez has 20 home runs and 48 RBIs.
His teammates were wearing that T-shirt during batting practice. All the Tigers were wearing that T-shirt.
I just wonder, what does JD Martinez think? How about me? But as we've said over the last 20 years, a lot of the voting is kind of a popularity type deal, and we've seen those results. When it comes to the votes, it's not always the guys having the best year.
Well, back-to-back walks, and a door has opened up for the Pirates. And that's going to be it. Brad Ausmus will go to the mound. Kyle Ryan will not get an out in the 5th inning. His 5th major league start, his 4th this season. Back to the bullpen. Al Albuquerque will appear for the 3rd straight game.
Pirates Baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by Allegheny Health Network. Health for all. By Kenny Ross, Ask a Neighbor. And by Levin Mattress, located in all Levin Furniture showrooms and freestanding stores. Let's go Bucks!
Today's Allegheny Health Network injury update. Down at AAA Indianapolis, reliever John Holtzcomb back on the disabled list. 7-day DL, right shoulder strain, 20 games this season, a 3.38 ERA. And what a great story he was last year. Coming to the big leagues for the first time. Mercer against Albuquerque. Tries to bunt. Fouled it off. Albuquerque, 1 1/3 scoreless innings last night. 1 1/3 on Tuesday. Gave up a run.
Kind of a rubber arm, apparently.
He's given up only 3 runs his last 24 outings. Relieves Kyle Ryan. Inherits 2 runners. Expecting a bunt again. Gets it down. And on to first. Sacrifice for Mercer.
Well, it kind of looked like Osmus was kind of wondering what we were just before that the Pirates have kind of been letting Ryan off the hook a little bit. And I think he was thinking that's not going to happen again. So even though he'd only given up 1 run on 3 hits, pulled the plug early.
Pirates lead 1-0, and now Andrew McCutchen with 2 in scoring position has walked and lined out to first. Middle infield back. Third baseman Castellanos a couple of steps back at third, and Cabrera almost even with a bag at first. And in the air to right center field. This will score a run as the right fielder Martinez makes the catch. And Andrew McCutchen collects his 46th RBI of the year, gives the Pirates a 2-0 lead.
Well, that one went from, well, I guess that's going to be deep enough to, it's almost to the warning track. And when he hits this, right there, ball was up. It's what you're looking for to get to the outfield. It looked kind of routine as far as depth, but J.D. Martinez going back into almost into that little nook back there. Everybody moved up without even a play.
Two 2-0 Buccos. Harrison at third with 2 outs. Albuquerque struck out Marte on Tuesday. And bounce to the shortstop, Iglesias. Gets Marte. The Pirates get a run and lead it 2-0. And some of the best bands in the burg during Friday Night Rocks on Root Sports. Get tuned into Pittsburgh's music scene as we showcase local artists and tracks throughout every Friday night Pirates broadcast. Friday Night Rocks tomorrow when the Buccos take on the Indians on Root Sports. Liriano facing J.D. Martinez to start the bottom of the 5th. One of Liriano's 3 strikeouts. We're talking earlier about his strikeout totals the last couple of years since joining the Pirates. Yes, he did. That's 1 and 2. Since the beginning of the 2013 season, the 9.59 strikeouts per 9. His 3rd best among all lefties in baseball, behind only Chris Sale of the White Sox and the Dodgers' Clayton Kershaw. 2 and 2.
There's your screwball pitch, Greg.
You mean a changeup?
Yeah, but that one there was actually what some guys would call a screwball. Watch this. The way the ball starts to go the other way. So he turned that circle change over and ran it away a little bit.
Oh, strikes out Martinez looking. Did he go right back to that pitch?
It was
only
another
a better one.
It was another changeup. It was just closer to the strike zone. The other one really had a lot of fade on it. So this one here is a little straighter. I think he took some of that fade off in order to throw it for a strike. You know what was that? That might not even been just a bad slider.
Yeah.
Now that I've seen that, yeah, like he tried to throw a backdoor slider and it didn't really break very much, but just enough.
And he got a call. Wow. I don't know how that ball drops in. There's some miscommunication there. Marte and Harrison. That's a lazy fly ball.
Come on, guys. Somebody's got to catch that.
That is routine.
Now, maybe the sun had something to do with this. I don't know. But Marte's the center fielder. That's his ball. You got to catch that.
Brad Ausmus is fired up. He's going to about get tossed here if he hasn't already. You can hear him all the way up here. He is really, really giving it to the home plate umpire, Sam Holbrook.
I'm sure he's been tossed.
Has to have been tossed.
Yeah, you can't do what he's doing and not be thrown out of the game.
Brad Ausmus, a frustrated Tigers manager.
Well, that had to be about the strike three pitch.
And the lineup card over to Gene Lamont and head to the clubhouse.
Oh, if you have to give up that lineup card, it's a good man to give it to.
It's in good hands with Gino. And in the air to left. For the second out. Back-to-back routine fly balls. This one caught, and it'll bring up Jose Iglesias.
You know,
this is just a replay of what happened right after the fly ball that dropped in moments ago. You saw Holbrook toss Ausmus as he kind of walked toward the Tigers dugout. And then Ausmus.
I wonder if he says something like, see, they can't see the ball either.
That would be a good line, wouldn't it?
Because he did it right after they let it drop in. That'll get you tossed.
Here from a different angle, Iglesias walking across the screen just as Holbrook had given Ausmus the heave-ho.
You know, there's another
check swing roller under the glove of Liriano and safe. Wow. Liriano kind of fanned on a weak ground ball.
Yeah, he's getting himself in trouble here. Well, he's not getting himself, and I guess technically on this play he did because he should have caught that. But
these are outs.
These are outs that the Pirates aren't getting. Just a very weak ground ball. Tough play for Walker to make coming in like that, but Liriano probably should have caught that one himself.
2 on, 2 out. Rajay Davis
back to top of the lineup.
Davis has singled and flied out. And there's a ground ball. Boy, Liriano has gotten the outs when he's needed them. He's blanking the Tigers through 5 innings. Papa Francisco in Detroit. Time this season between innings, he and Marte discussing that fly ball that dropped. And then Rick Sofield, the base running coach and outfield instructor.
Well, there really was not a lot to talk about there. You could see he just nodded to Marte. Marte said something, and he just nodded and walked away. Well, I'm sure what he said was that was my fault, because it was. Center fielder, he's got to catch that ball. End of story.
Pretty simple.
And Jehey there at the end kind of pointed at him, probably saying it's his play, and rightfully so. The only way that's Jehey's ball is if Marte, says I can't see it, or if there was a problem with the sun, something like that.
Jung-Ho Kang. A 1-2 count now facing the righty Al Albuquerque. He's 0 for 2 at a fly ball to the warning track in the second, popped up in the fourth. Hard hit, base hit for Kang.
Just needed a right-hander.
Well, that's pretty much completes the prediction. He's right on again because we're going to give him a 2 for 2.
We're going to give him a hit for
yes.
Well, the foul ball homer, the foul ball home run.
The 18 pitches he saw the first 2 at bats. Yeah. That's a hit, and so
the prediction's true.
You're right on again.
Good days.
Yep.
Okay.
Good days.
Good days.
Good things.
Vita Bella.
Here he is, speaking of the Pirates catcher, the home run in the fourth that gave the Bucks a 1-0 lead. There goes the runner from first, and it's a base hit. And Kang will head toward third. Cespedes will throw that way late. It's first and third with nobody out.
Well, hit and run action paid off nicely. Now you're doing this, you're trying to open up some holes, maybe get a base hit, but you want to stay out of a double play situation. But you get lucky, you get that ground ball base hit, and now you're first and third.
Kang reaches third.
A little stutter step there so he could get on the bag. He didn't look over his shoulder, but I don't think they're going to have Kang try and steal a base with nobody out. So I'm still going to stick with my hit and run theory.
Gene Lamont, the acting manager, making a pitching change. Bucks have runners at the corners with nobody out. Trying to extend the lead, and Blaine Hardy, the left-hander, comes on. He has pitched in each of the 3 games of this series. And look at Neil Walker as a right-handed hitter deliver an RBI single. What a series he's having. 2 more hits today. Another ribby.
And he purposely hit that ball right through that hole. You could tell by the swing. I mean, it was plain as day. Watch this, just keeping his hands in next to his body as he swings. Got a big hole over there to shoot for. Cabrera's holding on the runner. And a ball goes right through there. Just a well-placed ground ball, and he did that on purpose.
8 for 14 in the series. He scores Gong to make it 3-0.
Nice day for Gong, huh?
What a day. Neil Walker with 8 hits in his last 11 at-bats. 8 for 11.
See, I don't know numbers, but it seems like he always likes to hit here in Detroit.
Oh, yeah, the numbers.
Important hits.
Yeah, he's came in a .341 career hitter here with 4 home runs. And the Pirates only come here once a year.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a National League Central Division club. Polanco trying to bunt the runners. It's 1-2 with nobody out. Clint Hurdle looking for him to advance. Now will he keep the bunt on with 2 strikes? Polanco flied out against Hardy last night, flied out to left. Was hit by a Blaine Hardy pitch the other night. 2-2.
Seeing a lot of the Tiger bullpen, aren't we?
Yes.
3 days. Hardy's pitched every night. Albuquerque pitched every night.
Now it's 3-2. They really could have used someone last night to eat up some innings, but after Simon went 5 2/3, they used 3 different relievers, including Hardy. Able to get Polanco for the first out. And Polanco,
shame he couldn't get the bunt down.
He has struck out each of his 3 at bats after going 3 for 4 last night.
You're going to make it out. You want to make it productive. Lefty on lefty. That's why you were asked to bunt.
Sean Rodriguez with a ground out and a walk and has scored a run. A couple of hits and 8 at bats in the series. And a fly ball toward left. Cespedes for the second out.
Would have been nice to have that bunt down.
Yep.
Would have been another run.
Polanco asked to bunt first couple of pitches, couldn't do it, and then struck out. Harrison on base twice and has stolen a base. Hardy out in front 0-2. Gave up an infield single to Josh Harrison last night. And a bouncer to the third baseman. Castellanos throws out Harrison. The Pirates get one, but strand a couple and lead 3-0. Buccos are the perfect fit for his son. Chris Peters finds himself in the right place at the right time, and his former team needed a little help and much more. Inside Pirates Baseball, presented by Allegheny Health Network, tomorrow after postgame on Root Sports. Neil Walker. Right place, right time for sure here in Detroit. He has shined in this series. RBI single in the top of the 6th inning. 2 more hits tonight for the Pirates second baseman, or this afternoon, after last night having a 2-homer ball game and 4 hits. Three runs, 6 hits for the Pirates. No runs, 4 hits for the Tigers. .70 degrees at game time. Beautiful afternoon here in Detroit, as Ian Kinsler hits a fly ball toward Marte. Love seeing the one pitch, one out, especially after the last inning. He had to throw extra pitches because that ball wasn't caught.
Yeah, exactly. But even saying that, he still has only thrown 66 pitches. So he's just rolling along right now. The pitch count is not bad at all, and he'll be able to pitch deep in this ball game, as you know, as long as the hitters are cooperating and continue to make the outs. His number of pitches is not going to be a problem, and that's not always the case. Even when he's throwing good games, we've seen he'll come out of a game after 6 innings where he's got a ton of strikeouts, maybe 10 or 11 strikeouts, but he'll be almost at 100 pitches. So he's never been a finisher. I think he might only have 2 complete games in his career, as a matter of fact. And that's with a lot of his games pitched with a designated hitter, where you don't ever have to worry about being removed for an offensive reason, because they want to pinch hit for you. It almost looked like a curveball threw in there.
Three and one. Walked Cabrera in the 4th. Three and two now. on one of the game's all-time great hitters, Miguel Cabrera. Second in the American League in hitting currently, behind the Indians' Jason Kipnis. We'll see the Indians at PNC Park tomorrow. And ball 4, a 1-out walk. Second time he's given Cabrera a free pass.
Well, I think this ball's going to miss just a little bit outside, not a long ways, and they're not trying to give him a good pitch to hit. Even with the comfortable lead, they were still trying to hit a corner with that pitch. So they missed, and Cabrera's on base. Good double play candidate stepping in there.
Victor Martinez. She's not a fan of the tiger
there.
Scary.
Yeah.
It's a scary tiger. What do you expect? Victor Martinez. Oh, waves and misses. 1 ball and 1 strike.
In front of it. Thought he was going to get a fastball, didn't. Destroying that timing.
Back with an off-speed pitch, 1-2. Francisco Liriano looking for his 5th win of the year in his 3rd year with the Pirates. 16-game winner 2 years ago and the National League Comeback Player of the Year. Again, stayed away from a fastball, 1-2.
It's just breaking balls and changeup so far, Tony.
He got Martinez to hit a double play ball in the 4th inning, 1-hop shot to Jordy Mercer. Jung Ho Gong did not throw to first. It would have been an inning-ending DP. Looking for one here. A fly ball toward left. Harrison back. 2 outs. Mentioned that the Indians are coming to town starting tomorrow night. We invite you to kick off the holiday weekend. Tomorrow night, first 20,000 fans get a free Pirates t-shirt, compliments of Root Sports, the one that Garrett Cole is wearing there. Festivities begin on Federal Street with a Barrel Automotive block party featuring live entertainment, food, and stop by the Line & Kugel Bar. For tickets, go to pirates.com/Free Shirt Friday. 3 with the Cleveland Indians. Charlie Morton, Trevor Bauer tomorrow night, a Saturday afternoon game, and Garrett Cole will pitch on Sunday. Charlie Morton is 6-1. Trevor Bauer, 6-game winner. Garrett Cole is 11-3. Pirates, by the way, the last 2 days have shaved 2 games off the Cardinal lead in the National League Central. So Pittsburgh 7 back. Two and 1. The head-to-head matchup with the Redbirds 1 week from today at PNC Park. First of a big 4-game series. White Sox beat the Cardinals last night 7-1. They'll host the Padres tonight, will the Redbirds. 2-1 on Cespedes. And that's in the air toward right. And that will drop onto the track. So 2-2 on the left fielder. Nissan Road ahead. It is Morton against Bauer tomorrow night. Saturday afternoon, Jeff Locke opposes righty Cody Anderson. And then Sunday, it's Garrett Cole against Danny Salazar. Pirates and the Indians in an interleague matchup. Stays 2-2. Indians and Tampa Bay Rays down at Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg. Extra innings into the 10th. And Mike Aviles hit a home run in the top of the 10th. Cleveland up 5-4. Popped up. Sean Rodriguez makes the catch. That's 6 shutout frames for Francisco Liriano. Pop Evil with the Allegheny Health Network Supermo. The Pirates lead 3-0. And Jordy Mercer promptly hits a ball down the line and left. He's thinking 2, and he's going to be there as Cespedes decides to concede. Whether he... I'm not sure what happened there. Got one of the best arms in baseball. Mercer does not run well.
And normally, even if guys like Cespedes, they'll throw that ball even if they don't have a chance, because they know that they got a great arm, and they're always looking for opportunities maybe to show it off. But well, you're right there, Greg. He just conceded.
Possibly he didn't get a good grip or something?
No, I just, for whatever reason, he decided, no, I don't have a chance. I mean, it's a long ways down that corner. It's 345.
Yeah.
It would have been a long throw for him. But like I was saying, guys like that, they like to make those long throws.
Mercer, another hit. 13 doubles now on the year for him.
And occasionally, too, somebody will overslide a bag. So, you don't know what might happen. It's worth making that toss. This should move Mercer up.
So Andrew McCutchen flies out to Martinez, allows Mercer to move up. And with one out, a chance to get a fourth run in.
See what they decide to do here strategy-wise. This scenario, they put him on or pitch to him, or move the. It looks like they're going to pitch to him, just bring the infield in on the grass. Pitch to him, but not have to give in at all. Scenarios you're down by 3 runs and just try to make perfect pitches. If Marte does not go after any of them and you walk him, big deal.
Jabba Chamberlain really roughed up the 8th inning last night.
Be his 3rd day in a row. They go to Toronto tomorrow, right?
Yeah, it's kind of surprising that the way they've used the bullpen, getting ready for back to American League ball.
Toronto, that's a great hitter's ballpark. They might need I wouldn't be surprised, would you, if they make some kind of
a move.
Oh, Toronto's coming here.
Yeah,
they're not going to Toronto.
But still, Toronto is
good hitting team.
Oh my gosh, 104 home runs. It's tied for 2nd in the American League, and Marte takes advantage of the drawn in infield and makes it 4-0. An 8-game hitting streak for Marte and his 48th RBI of the year.
He just didn't make really all that great a contact, but was able to hit it hard enough to where it bounced up over the mound and through the infield. And a good thing about this too is, Marte, he could easily be at 2nd here soon. We saw J-Hay turn a bunt into essentially a double. Marte might try to do the same thing. He might be gun shy though about his footing over there. He got picked off earlier. He almost fell down with that bad footing. He slips a lot that first step.
Gong 1 for 3. In our minds, 2 for 3.
Yeah.
But no matter how, depends on how you want
I've
to look
always
at
had
it.
my own scoring methods.
Yep.
Yeah, technically, I believe we just said he's going to have a good day. I mean, that could just be making a couple of nice plays.
I think you went.
I might have.
I might have. You could have just left it at that, but you went with 2 hits. But that's fine. I think we determined he does have 2 hits, even though officially it's 1 for 3.
Good day.
See, have a day.
No, just a day.
Yeah.
He didn't even have to do anything. He just had to.
You should have just said that.
He just had to show up.
Just to be in the starting lineup. You win.
That was quite a prediction.
Bounce to short.
Yeah, this is not going to be good for the day.
6-4-3.
They've lost a hit there.
DP. But the Buccos lead 4-0. And photo. Use the hashtag PittDataStrongFan, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast. Brought to you by T-Mobile. The Pirates looking for another sweep. They have a major league leading 8 sweeps this season. They had 5 all of last year. This Pittsburgh Pirates team back on track. After losing 5 of 6, they've rebounded to win 4 of their last 5. And they've got Liriano on the hill.
Should have the best housekeeping award or something you could win. Those sweeps.
Yes.
Team that made most use of the broom.
So I thought about when you talked about the design of the home plate area and that
The
track.
shovel.
Could be a shovel or a...
I've always thought. So every time I look at it, I think shovel.
Yeah.
There it is. It's a big shovel.
Strike on J.D. Martinez, who has struck out twice. 6, 7, 8 in the order. One and 2.
Is there another ballpark that does that also? With the
Arizona
is cut out like home plate.
Arizona.
Is it there? Okay.
Toward left, well hit. 360 spin for J-Hay, and he makes the catch. Turned all the way around, found the ball, and makes the catch.
Looked like a dog looking for a place to lay down. There he goes, right, left, back around, catch it.
He is like a little kid playing in the backyard.
All the time. All day, J-Hay.
One and 1 on Castellanos. Pitch just misses. Two balls, 2 strikes on the Tiger third baseman. He sent Polanco to the wall in the 3rd inning and singled to left center field in the 5th. A fly ball that should have been caught, and here's a ball that is caught by Josh Harrison on the Allegheny Health Network Supermo.
You just see that part of it. It's wow, what a play.
Strike 3 called. Number 5 for Liriano. 2 up and 2 down.
Definitely right there. Watch the location. Glove hardly had to move.
Now the catcher, Brian Holiday. Takes strike 1. Ball and a strike on Holiday with 2 outs in the 7th. Java Chamberlain looks like he'll be pitching the 8th. Liriano has fallen behind now 3-1. Now the pitch count approaching 90, or 100 rather, 96 currently. No chance. 2-out hit for Holiday.
It's a scenario that just like the 2-out punt. Third baseman's playing back. He doesn't want an extra base hit. He's trying to play deep so he can maybe get to that line. And so anything that's hit slowly or bunted slowly, as in the J-Hay at bat, up that way is going to go as a base hit. Won't be a play. Here, Cervelli yelling no, 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 a little bit faster than I did, just wanting to make sure that they're just hold on to the ball, don't make a throw. No reason to. The more you communicate out there on defense, the better. You can't talk enough. You can't talk too much. Can you say no, no, no that fast?
No. No, 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 I can't. 2 balls, no strikes. So now Cervelli slow things down a little bit. A fly out and a strikeout, but then the infield hit after falling behind Holiday. Got out in front early.
The last 2 innings, he's had to throw a lot of pitches for some reason. And remember, going into the 6th, he had, I think he started with 64 pitches, perhaps, because I remember there was it was 65 because he made the first pitch out and there was 66. And now he's about to throw pitch number 100, and we're just an inning later. There it is, 100 pitches. Pirate bullpen's quiet, isn't it? Nobody out there? Nope, take that back. There is action.
Ball 4. Two on it brings up Rajay Davis. Antonio Bastardo is up. Ray Searage is going to buy him some more time.
Right now, especially that bat there, that's exactly what the Tigers are looking for. They want some help. They want a base on balls to try and get base runners and then find a big hit to get them back in the game. So the last thing you want to do is base on balls there, especially 2 outs. Well, at any time, doesn't matter how many outs. And it wasn't even really close. Missed badly. An interesting conversation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very long conversation. And normally Ray's a little more secretive than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of that might have been about the throwing strikes. Was that ball 4? That wasn't was that a slider that bounced?
I'm not sure.
But Ray might have said, hey,
yeah,
why are you trying to strike somebody out there with 4-run lead? You got to go after the strike zone.
Ball 1. One ball, 1 strike. Boy, Davis helped out the Pirates and Liriano here.
I definitely went after that slider out of the strike zone.
And a bouncing ball to the second baseman. Walker tosses to Mercer, and that is probably it for Francisco Liriano, 7 shutout innings. In the 8th inning with 1 out, Neil Walker, opposite field home run, second home run of the night. Starling Marte crushed his 13th, and the next batter, Pedro Alvarez, with his 11th. A 3-homer inning. A rough outing for Java Chamberlain, who said, after hearing the Boo Birds asked about it, he said, "I'd boo myself."
No, I like the fact that he reacted that way, Greg. I mean, what else are you going to say?
Yep.
With the truth. There's nights when you stink and you got to live up to it. You just say, "Hey, I wasn't good. Should have been booed." That guy, nothing but cheers. 7 shutout.
Now the numbers for Java Chamberlain.
30th ball game of the year. 21 innings. It's kind of an odd stat for a right-hander. To have that many more appearances than innings pitched.
Big day for Cervelli. The home run in the 4th broke a scoreless tie.
Had a day.
Almost Gong-like. Former battery mates here with the Yankees, Java Chamberlain and Francisco Cervelli. Infield single for Cervelli last night against Chamberlain. I guess Tim Neverett was doing his best Java Chamberlain impersonation the other night in the home TV booth. When you were swallowing moths, they were attacking his arms.
Yes, they were.
Is that right?
Yeah, biting him. There it is. Does he think he knows?
We're calling Tim Java. He has no idea. Well, maybe he does.
Talking about moths.
Remember those gnats that attacked Java Chamberlain that playoff game a few years ago? It's crazy.
Oh, I think I just saw Tim look at his arm.
See, he did know. Check swing, roller to Cabrera. One out, brings up Neil Walker. Some Point Park University tweets for you to read will crawl across the bottom of your screen as the Pirates are 6 outs away from sweeping the Tigers' lead 4-0. Work to do. A shot by Cervelli. His 4th of the year came in the 4th inning. And more encouragement to vote him into the All-Star game.
I like that statement there. Give him what he deserves. Get him in the All-Star game.
And now Walker just continues to swing this hot bat. 3 more hits. 9 hits in the series.
The hanging breaking ball. And right now, Walker, he's pretty well locked in. He's not going to miss anything when you make a mistake. He's so hot. He's going to have his batting average up at 300 by the All-Star game.
By the end of today.
The way he's moving it up.
He has 9 hits in his last 12 at bats.
He'll be up there around 275 or so now.
Polanco now looking for a better at bat. Looked locked in last night with 3 hits. Also drew a free pass. But here today, struck out twice against the lefty Kyle Ryan. And then struck out against the left-hander Blaine Hardy after failing to get a bunt down.
Yeah, that one probably stung the most. He was asked to do a job bunting and couldn't get it done.
Walker swiped a bag in last night's game. Three and one. A lot of work this series for the relief corps of these Detroit Tigers. Another pitcher came back from Tommy John surgery. Just to add Chamberlain to the list. And
made it into a smiley face.
Yeah.
Well, that's a nice scar they get, isn't it?
Walker takes off. Chamberlain, one-time starter for the Yankees.
Kind of a phenom, wasn't he, when he came up?
Yep. A lot of hope, promise for him. Runner goes again, and it's ball 4. Two aboard, and the Pirates can put this thing away here in the 8th inning. Big hit from Sean Rodriguez. The starter, Kyle Ryan, walked 5 in his 4+ innings. 1 ball, 1 strike. A ground out, a walk, and a fly out this afternoon for Sean Rodriguez.
And the Tigers have that firepower over there. You don't ever really feel comfortable. They're with 4 runs right now. I'd love to get 1 more.
Yep.
You get to 5, then you can start talking about winning the game because that's where you're jinx proof.
That's what?
5-run lead.
What about it?
You become jinx proof. You can start talking about
5-run lead is jinx proof.
You can then start to talk about winning the game. 5 runs after 7 innings.
You've got to write these things
down. There's only 2 left. I told you last night on the radio.
I know. I just got to write it
forgot
down.
already.
Yeah. I like the fact you came right back with it to make it sound like it's real. That's good. You didn't forget.
What do you mean sound like it's real? It's known fact.
Known fact.
Known fact.
So glad I was able to, again, I feel so powerful that I was able to disrupt a near perfect game, near no-hitter last night for Carlos Carrasco of the Indians. We'll see those Indians again tomorrow night, by the way, at PNC Park.
I'll explain to you how it works. It's not just you. Somewhere else,
yeah,
somebody else.
If I didn't participate, it wouldn't have happened.
Exactly. It's a team effort. Somewhere, someone else.
You still didn't give me a number, though. How many people around the world need to be involved in the Jinx?
I told you it depends on the league.
Oh.
Depends on the importance of the game. Teams involved.
A lot of factors.
There's variables.
Yep.
It's like predicting the weather. Can't ever get it right down to a single number.
And a fly ball to center. Oh. Sean Rodriguez flies out. Top of the order, and Josh Harrison now. Sunday, Pirates and Indians 135 conclude that 3-game series. All kids 14 and under will get one of these inflatable chairs, courtesy of Huggies, Cottonelle, Giant Eagle, and Viva. Get to the #1 Cochran Family Fun Zone out on Federal Street before the game, and after the game, kids can run the bases with compliments of the original pizza logs. For tickets, go to Pirates.com. Indians for 3. Then the Padres make their first and only trip into Pittsburgh, starting on Monday, and then the Cardinals, 4-game series starting next Thursday. See if Josh Harrison can deliver a 2-out hit. And a fly ball. Davis, Buckstrand a couple, head to the bottom of the 8th, lead it 4-0. Pitches 7 shutout innings, allows 5 hits, 2 of them infield singles, and 1 was a fly ball that should have been caught.
And really just an amazing game. Again, this season just keeps going along for him. And we talked about the comparison of that slider on certain days to really some of the great guys that used to throw them, like Carlton, where it's just an unhittable pitch. And had it going again this afternoon. And just nothing really going on for the Tigers. They never really mounted any kind of a charge at all. Trying to think of any really deep balls. There might have been one fly ball that reached the warning track. Good control, got ground balls when he needed. A couple of double plays.
He drops his ERA under 3.
Hopefully we can get him a win, because that's
the only thing that's been missing
from his stat line are the W's, or we'd be talking about him for a possible All-Star appearance. I mean, it just doesn't have the W's, but there's been a ton of games that he could have easily been the winning pitcher in that he wasn't.
Antonio Bastardo has really come on last several appearances. Ian Kinsler 1 for 3 against the starter.
Yeah, a month and a half ago you wouldn't have considered putting Bastardo in the 8th inning. A lead, he just wasn't quite dependable enough for that. But now, the way he's been throwing of late, no problem whatsoever. Decent control and it's showing some fine velocity.
1 and 2. He pitched a scoreless 11th inning on Tuesday.
After that 11th inning, I told somebody after the game that now that's the Bastardo really that just tormented us when he was in Philadelphia.
Line to left. 1-2 pitch. Kinsler's second hit.
High fastball. That's kind of by design. He throws a lot of them. Up there, he tries to get it up a little higher than that by the letters. Get a chase, a pop fly, or swing and miss. Oh, just a little above the belt. We're with the Tigers here at Comerica Park. You kind of feel like maybe it's just a 2-run game. You feel like that?
Yes.
It's just really wanted badly to get that insurance run in last inning. Had that opportunity that we didn't take advantage of.
This guy here can certainly make it a 2-run game.
Triple Crown winner. Very few hitters can say that.
One ball and 1 strike. Cabrera this afternoon has hit a ball to the warning track in right and walked twice. He's motioning toward the Pirates dugout, saying the ball came up and hit Cervelli in the neck, so why don't you have somebody come out and look at him? Cabrera asking Clint Hurdle or someone to check him out. But Hurdle took a couple steps. Cervelli said he's okay.
Not sure I've seen much of that my time. For the opposing team is.
He's such a nice guy. He really is.
So concerned. Well, it wasn't like he was like waving him out. He was having a conversation about it. He almost picked up that ball. Did you see that?
Yeah.
He realized what he was doing. I think he forgot there was somebody on base. And then he was like, oh, wait, I can't touch that. Ball's live.
Sure, these guys are longtime buddies back in their native Venezuela. There's little doubt that they've played ball in the past. Winter leagues. Two and two. Let's go downstairs to Robbie with more.
Yeah, another guy he goes way back with is A.J. Burnett. The two of them won a World Series together with the Marlins in '03 and teammates for 3 seasons in the early stages of their career. I asked Burnett, who may have faced him for the last time last night, I said, what's it like? What kind of memories do you have about him? He said, hey, I'll just remember how good he really is.
Certainly is that. No argument.
The best hitters of his time.
Yep.
I really think that all you have to do is say Triple Crown winner, because that has so much impact when you really think about it. How few men have ever been able to say that. And you can end it there.
Well, now it's 3 and 2 on him. And it's first and second. A hit and a walk.
And now I am getting a little on the nervous side.
I didn't get a chance to ask Clint Hurdle. I'm assuming, I was going to say I didn't know if Tony Watson was available. He's just now getting up. He tried to stay away from Watson, but Watson pitched an inning on Tuesday. Of course, there was the off day on Monday. Before that, he hadn't pitched since Thursday, so it's not like he's used all that much.
There's no reason to stay away from him unless he's got some kind of a physical issue that no one knows about. But as far as work, right? Be almost looking for a spot to get him in there.
For that reason, I'm almost surprised he didn't start this inning.
Oh, man, another one of those long conversations out at the mound. Giving Watson plenty of time to be ready.
Watson up with Victor Martinez coming to the plate. Ball one. Liriano able to handle Martinez today, despite the strong career numbers. And in the air to shallow left center field. And Jordy Mercer comes up with it. Jordy Mercer in the middle of it all.
Man,
comes up with a sensational catch. That could be a game saver.
That's a big can of worms gets kicked over. That one falls in. I mean, he's got people closing in on him from all directions. He's got to just ignore them and stay focused on the baseball.
Oh, one big out here in the 8th. Allegheny Health Network Supermo.
about that? That is a great shot.
Wow.
Back over his shoulder. A little bit of a sun as it starts to go down behind the Pirate dugout.
Here is Yoenis Cespedes.
And there's so many little tiny things that might make the difference in a ball game that you can do out on the baseball field, and you don't know. There's no way to predict when that moment is going to come up in a game. But there was one right there for Mercer. No matter what he did today with a bat or anything like that, that play over the shoulder, the catch in this situation, huge.
Really got a good bit of that off a foul ball from Cespedes. It's a ball and a strike on the left fielder, who was 0 for 3 against Liriano. Two and one, and here comes a big pitch. Not close.
After he threw that pitch, he looked toward the dugout.
Rendon up. Watson is ready.
The guy on deck who's the tying run has 20 home runs, Greg.
JD Martinez. You've got to get Cespedes here.
Nerve-wracking inning.
Don't bring this guy to the plate. The chance to tie it.
You've already given a free pass to one guy to give him life.
Oh, 3-2.
Very up and away corner of the strike zone.
Cespedes is batting just .207 against lefties this season. 3-2 count. He's walked only 4 times against a left-handed pitcher. In fact, he's only walked 14 times all year, so figure if this pitch is close from Bastardo, he'll offer. And in the air to right. Polanco. A big second out for Bastardo. And so JD Martinez will come to the plate with 2 on and 2 outs, and Pirates leading 4-0.
Yeah, that keeps that tying run over on the on deck circle. Huge out.
Struck out twice against Liriano. And hit that fly ball to left. Jay Hayes spun around and ended up making the catch. Seven homers last 8 games, 10 homers in his last 15 games for JD Martinez. Two-0 count. JD Martinez hit the home run off Tony Watson. It tied the game on Tuesday and sent the game into extra innings eventually. Went 14, the Bucks won it.
And Bastardo's really slowed the pace down, hasn't he?
Yes.
He'll really take his time in between pitches here.
In the air to right center field. Polanco is over, and it's a one-run game.
Yeah, that's why you didn't want him to come up there as a tying run.
"21 homers.
Pirates are
Ask for a review here.
yeah.
We'll check the replay.
What do you think?
Home run.
Greg, I wonder why more ballparks aren't designed so that the home run fence is just far enough in front of the fans where they can't reach over the fence.
Three-run homer. It's confirmed. J.D. Martinez makes it 4-3. And that is going to be it for Bastardo.
They've been working his way up the totem pole, in that bullpen, but he may have slipped down a spot or two after this inning.
Walk to Cabrera, base hit, and then when he came into the dugout, unleashes his fury. We'll go toward the trash can here.
He knows he's been pitching very well of late, and had an opportunity here to come in. He's deserved the opportunity to come in and pitch in some more important situations, and gave up 3 runs. He's definitely upset with himself.
And now Tony Watson looking to get the final out in a 1-run game. Apparently Clint Hurdle wanted to stay away from Watson today, but forced to go to him here. Even though Watson hasn't been used much last few days. Now 1 ball and 2 strikes on Castellanos.
Good look at that one. It's 95 also.
Struck him out. Tony Watson gets the final out, but now the lead is down to 1. For the 4th of July weekend, catch the first game from PNC Park tomorrow. It starts at 6:30, the pregame. Brought to you by WB Mason on Root Sports. WB Mason pregame tomorrow. JD Martinez, 3-run homer. Now just looking at, I know why Clint Hurdle is trying to stay away from Tony Watson as Andrew Romine takes over at third base. Cleveland Indians come to town tomorrow night, and they have some hitters, including Jason Kipnis, a left-handed batter, Michael Bourne, Michael Brantley, David Murphy, Francisco Lindor, a switch hitter, much better against right-handed pitching. So thankfully it was just one batter. Now Bruce Rondon faces Jordy Mercer, trying to get at least one of those runs back here.
Rondon the other night throwing 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Get that fastball back.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy John, correct?
Yep.
How many major league pitchers do you think that are on rosters right now, percentage-wise?
About 50.
50.
Tony Watson and Neil Walker involved in a conversation.
Figure out how to get another run up there.
Yeah. 1-2 on Mercer as the Pirates look for at least Another run. The Tigers have the 8-9-1 hitters due up. And Mark Melanson is getting ready. And a base hit for Jordy Mercer to start the ninth. He's on base for the third time in this ball game.
Yeah, nice. Big aggressive turn around first base. Just in case there was a bobble, anything like that out in the outfield. He knows it's certainly not a double off the bat, but gotta like it. He comes around the bag, and he went probably about a third of the way to second before he stopped him and chased him back.
McCutchen faced Rondon on Tuesday night and walked. Rondon struck out Neil Walker and Starling Marte. Josh Harrison hit a ball to the warning track against him. And there goes the runner. The Pirates able to have Mercer walk into second base.
Decent jump, huh?
A little bit.
You know, it wasn't that big of a jump, Greg. It looked like Mercer broke about the same time that Rondon lifted his leg, right? I don't get it.
A long time.
What took so long?
Once the leg lifted, it took a long time to get the ball to the plate.
Was he like a two flat home?
Yeah, must be. Andrew McCutchen has made some ground in the All-Star voting. You can vote till midnight tonight. There's a drive deep to center field. Davis is back. It's over his head. Andrew McCutchen's going to get that run home.
Big run. Big run.
He doubles home Mercer. Pirates lead 5-3. Vote now at pirates.com/vote.
Big clutch extra base hit. At most ballparks, he just hit a clutch home run instead of an extra base hit. That's driven well over 400 feet. We were talking earlier about how deep it is in center field, and in that corner, it's even deeper than the 420. Davis still has excellent speed, just about got there, but not quite.
Vote Andrew McCutchen at pirates.com/vote. There's a roller into left field. McCutchen to third. Marte delivers a base hit. He's on base for the third time. And you look up on that scoreboard.
This is great for what it does to that the dugout over in the Detroit side. The guys out on the field. I mean, they were all fired up. They go, okay, here we go. We're coming back. And now the air is coming out of the balloon again.
There's a dozen hits again. 21 last night, a dozen here. Take a look at Andrew McCutchen's swing here against Rondon. Over the head of Rajai Davis.
Ball's on the inside half of the plate, too, wasn't it? That looked like it was on the inside half of the plate.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a spot that we're, Kutch has been having, at least in the first half of the season, some problems with. Guys have been pitching him in there, and it hasn't been really all that easy for him. But once he starts mashing that ball like that, now they're going to start moving away, and he's going to see a lot fewer balls inside. He turns on those fastballs like that. You're going to have to start staying away from him.
That was a 97-mile-per-hour fastball that was on the inner half. And take T. Taffel's advice. Vote before midnight for our Buccos. Pirates.com/vote. Again, you can vote up to 35 times. He's looking across the diamond at Miguel Cabrera or not?
Yeah, he's saying something. I don't know what it was. Hand signals. I don't know what the code is.
Marte takes off right away. They'll pay no attention to him.
It's like two pirate ships talking to each other with flags.
Stolen base. Number 16 for Marte. I guess the word is out. When Rondon's on the hill, you have no problems. And now the Pirates can bust it open again, and a throw over to first base. Don't see that too often. Over to third. McCutchen back.
Yeah, when you should make that throw is when there's a runner at first. Because you're going to get that guy breaking,
right.
Man, and now he's in a rundown if that's where you want him.
We don't see that too often either, do we? The first and third, right?
It's against the rules now.
Well, you can throw to third.
Yeah, you can throw to third.
So
but I mean, that's what you'd have to do.
If there's first,
third, you should throw the ball to third
saying.
base because you can't fake, but you can still throw it
that's
over there.
That's my point, though.
And then if the runner is taking off, now do you want to get him in a rundown? If it's Marte at third base, probably not.
And bounced to the shortstop with the infield in. Well, that is one out. Young unable to bring home McCutchen. It'll be up to Cervelli. One out. Cervelli has homered and singled in 4 trips to the plate. Infield still in. And he's hit by the pitch to load him up, and Cervelli looks out at Rondon at 98 miles per hour.
That one had to hurt.
Cervelli not moving at the moment.
Not happy.
It's good to see him kind of smiling, though, as you obviously worry.
I think he's looking out at Rondon, though, isn't he?
Hopefully it hit the pad, huh? Yeah. Hit the pad.
What's that mean in Italian? Aye.
Or Spanish.
Or Spanish, either way. You're my Italian guy. I go to you for Italian now.
Ben Potenziano, the assistant trainer, just checking on him, and he's okay. Boy, pad or not, 98.
I don't think he hit the pad, or he wouldn't have reacted like that. I think that was a little below it.
Walker. Is 3 for 4. Ball 1. 9 hits in his last 12 at bats. Average has climbed to 275. It was 257. The start of the game on Tuesday. Over the years, he's had success with the bases loaded. 364, a couple of grannies. 5-3 Pirates, a dozen hits. Toward the left center field gap. How about the real deal? Watch them all run. Marte will score. Walker into second with an unforgettable series. 4 more hits for Neil Walker. 2 more RBIs. And the Pirates lead it 7-3.
Well, what a great answer that was for the bottom of the 8th where they gave up 3. To come in and do that. Well, off the bat, I thought for sure this was going to shoot the gap and get to the fence. But I'll still take it. A couple more runs.
McCutchen and Marte score. Cervelli to third. 4 more hits for Neil Walker. And then think back to Tuesday night. After walking twice his first 2 times up, he went 0 for 4. 20 doubles, 7-3 Pirates. Beautiful shots from the Allegheny Health Network Supermo and what is turning out to be a beautiful series in Detroit.
Yeah, I'll second that. Beautiful series. Watching that Mercer catch, I think that my 2 favorite parts of this ball game so far, that catch and that last hit by Walker.
Here's Tom Gorzolani.
I can start this. I feel kind of safe now.
Even though we're not jinx proof yet. It's
no, not
5
jinx
runs.
proof yet, but we're close. I feel safe. Not jinx proof. Need 1 more hit for that.
Infield in again. The batter, Gregory Polanco. Gorzolani took the loss on Tuesday. Gave up the Josh Harrison, well, they're calling a double for now. That might change. And then a Neil Walker double. Two and two. A little anxious Polanco there.
What do you think they should give him? I mean, it'll change, maybe.
They're talking about making it a single, perhaps.
Why would they do that?
After the appeal, the guy thrown out at second.
Might have to change Coors line, he might not get the loss then.
That could be too.
If it's a force out.
Yeah.
Then that's not his run anymore.
Yeah. Well, now Vance Worley looking like he might pitch if Polanco can deliver. Maybe one more run, let Melanson sit down.
Yep, that's what that's all about. Depends on Polanco. Polanco is going to decide who pitches the ninth.
Or Rodriguez.
Or Sean, yes.
So now they're loaded for Sean Rodriguez.
Or it could be Jay. It will be decided by the hitters.
Neil Walker, the 2-run double. Andrew McCutchen doubled home Jordy Mercer, who got it going, and the tweets talking about this explosion here. This ball fouled back. Indians come to town to PNC Park tomorrow night. And, oh, what a play by Kinsler to rob Rodriguez of a hit. The Pirates score another run. And Kinsler robs Rodriguez of a base hit. He does get the RBI, and the Pirates lead it 8-3.
A real fine play by Kinsler. Kind of maybe keeping the Tigers at least some hope over there. They get 2 runs home, then the mountain is just too high to climb. Perhaps they'll still be able to do something in that 9th inning because of that diving stop.
Josh Harrison bounces this ball foul.
Can't quit fighting.
Melanson sits down, and it will be Vance Worley.
So it was Sean who decided.
Kinsler. The Allegheny Health Network Super Mode. Look at that.
How did it stay in the glove?
My goodness. Fabulous play by Kinsler. And now Harrison with a fly ball to left for the final out. And now looking for 3 more outs to complete a sweep of the Tigers. Heading to the bottom of the 9th inning, Neil Walker. What a series. 4 more hits today. 3 more ribbies. 10 hits in his last 13 at-bats.
Well, this has got to be a real shot in the arm for his confidence. Hopefully this will really keep him rolling for a while. See Worley's numbers on the year. Most of those innings came as a starter. It's in that odd spot in the bullpen where you just can't get consistent work. You're either sitting for a long time or you're racking up innings way more than anybody else down there.
Holiday, count of 0-2. Long way toward left center field. Marte and Harrison. And Marte makes the catch.
They have got to get on the same page.
Yes, they do. Earlier in the ball game, a fly ball that should have been caught dropped between them.
Well, here Marte does what he's supposed to do. He takes charge. He looked to me like he was calling the ball the whole time, and he just kept on going. Now I can't, of course, hear anything, but it looks like see the way the right hand is waving in the air? When you see that, normally that's when the outfielder is also yelling, I got it, I got it. Maybe Marte needs to be a little louder. I don't know, but if you're Jay and you hear the center fielder, no matter who it is, say, I got it, then it's over. You're done. You peel off.
Lined fair. Jose Iglesias with a double. It's his second hit.
Breaking ball. Somehow he kept it fair.
Rajay Davis takes ball 1. Two and 0. Two outs away from the Pirates' Major League leading 9th sweep of the season. The Tigers have been swept only twice all year, and once here at Comerica earlier last month. The A's came in and swept a 3-game series. 3-1.
I mean, you're trying to stay away, from pitchers and then you have to, use them or even just get them up. Kind of defeats the purpose of not just going ahead and pitching them in the first place. And I bring this up, Melanson now has had to start playing some catch again out there.
To right, and 2 outs.
sometimes getting up and getting ready for a ball game is just as much effort, wear and tear on the arm as actually going out and throwing a few pitches during the game.
And the Pirates count that number of ups. Robin Teague will be coming up after this ball game. Break it all down.
I mean, Melanson's getting a day off, but not really. He had to get up while we were hitting and get ready to the game, and now with that double, he got up again. And same thing with Watson. You would like to have had him have that day off, but he actually had to heat up and come in the game to end the inning.
And that's hit well toward left. That's going to get down and get over the wall. Make it 8-4. Ian Kinsler with 3 hits. His manager thought he was about to get hot, and his 3rd hit of the day.
Definitely hit the heck out of that ball. Fastball pretty much right down the middle. He's belt high. Well, Melanson now basically has to be at the point to where he can go into the ball game. There's no just backing off, playing catch. He's got to go ahead and get loose just like normal. Just so after this hitter, he can actually go into the game if the phone rings.
And he will, because then the tying run will come to the on-deck circle, and it's a save situation now. Now, Dave Clark was waving the runner home, and Kinsler didn't see him. And so Cabrera is robbed of an RBI, and the fans not thrilled with that.
It's good baseball, though, I think. Don't you think?
Good baseball?
Yeah. To not score? I mean, it's not good baseball to not do what your coach says, but why run home there?
Why not? If they're giving you a run.
What if you get thrown out?
He's not going to get thrown out. Polanco's conceding the run. It's just really a matter of.
We saw McCutcheon get thrown out at the plate on a fly ball a few years back, and we were very critical of him ending the game at the plate when he wasn't tying runs. So I have to stay consistent and say you can't score on that under any circumstances. It doesn't make any difference.
Well, Vance Worley is exiting, and Mark Melanson is coming on in a save situation. Gotten to the point where Clint Hurdle forced to bring in Mark Melanson in what has become a save situation. The potential tying run will come to the on-deck circle. Melanson will face Victor Martinez and look for a one-out save. Hasn't had many of those of his 24.
Probably hasn't many of those in his career. The situation nowadays to get a save, it's almost all closers start the inning. Very seldom do they come into a middle of an inning. There's rare occasions where a large lead is put into jeopardy, and that's what's happened here.
He pitched a scoreless 10th inning on Tuesday, getting the game to the 11th. This would be just his 4th career one-out save if he can get Martinez, who bats left-handed for the first time, and he hits just 187 from this side. Victor Martinez trying to get Cespedes to the plate. Strike one. Oh, and 1. 1 ball, 1 strike.
A loss here would drop the Tigers to an even 500 record.
And a save for Melanson would match Glenn Perkins of the Twins for the major league lead. And now it's 1-2. Looking for one more out. The sweep of the Tigers. It would take the regular season series against Detroit, and with help from the Padres tonight, could move to within 6 of the first place Cardinals in the Central. Two and 2. Stays 2 and 2. On Victor Martinez against the starter Liriano. He bounced out twice and hit a ball to the warning track in left. Against Bastardo in the 8th, he popped up to shallow left center field, and Jordy Mercer made that fabulous catch. Two on, 2 outs. 2-2 count. And bounce toward first base and raise the Jolly Roger in Detroit. The Pirates sweep the Tigers.
Now, this was a great accomplishment. I think